Vampire Coast Black Bible Chapter 2, The Cove Dilemma. Coves were greatly tweaked going from Total War Warhammer 2 to 3. Let's go over their state as they exist today. Rework, yeah. Let's look at what we've got, and how to make Lothern make you richer. That's not the same strat it was in 2, but I'm dangling gold coins to whet your interest. How to establish a cove. It's either an agent action from a vampire fleet captain, or it's done by a lord. Any lord will do so long as you succeed in a battle at a settlement with a port. This lets you select from 4 buildings, 3 of which cost 2,500 to build, the 4th takes 500 gold. I have never seen any game mechanic reduce the cost of building these cove buildings. In terms of the cove, the Admiral post-battle option is absolutely free at that point. For the fleet captains, it's stiff. If you haven't established any cove lately, I've seen it go around 3,800 without pips in the cost reduction. Any single fleet captain has a 15-turn cooldown on establishing a new cove, and while this counts as a hostile agent action, it doesn't actually declare war on anyone, so you do it to factions you don't want to fight yet, or at all. So yeah, you might be paying 7,600 gold to establish multiple pirate coves from multiple fleet captains if you see an area like I saw with Hexoatl, the Skeggy area. Skeggy at 1,600, both minor points around 1,150. So I slapped coves on all 3. Picaroon's hideout is the one giving 50% of the income collected, giving you 10 infamy passively per turn. It adds up, and these coves are one of the best ways to get infamy. Yes, you get 200 for sacking and other things add to it, but the coves really push it. This unlocks legendary admirals and makes shanty versus holders YOLO you eventually. So, there is a cooldown within which, if you establish a new pirate cove, the cost is doubled. So, if you were paying 3,800 before, you might be paying 7,600 afterwards, and it will go up if you are establishing a cove at a particularly wealthy port. Now, if you're wondering, if I establish 2 pirate coves within that cooldown, does the cost go up further? It does not. So, yeah, it's costing you a lot of money, but I had assembled a war chest of over 160,000 gold after sacking Hexoatl itself. I wanted the longer-term income. The investment was worth it, and I mean, that has to be balanced against not wiping out the faction entirely, at least, immediately. For science, I put a Gunnery Wight into that same Skeggy province. He lowered the income that Hexoatl was receiving, he did nothing to boost Cove income, so that's not going to help you. I saw a cost of 8,877 to nab Lothern a turn after Tyrion noticed me and declared war on me. Anyway, the point is that it can go up to something like that. You're not going to see it go up to like 12,000. The other option that gets you money is the Smuggler's Cove, plural of smuggler. This also nets you 10 infamy per turn, regardless of the production of the settlement or lack thereof. In other words, like a Tomb King settlement. You get 200 gold per turn, you get plus 2% tariffs income from trade, and in a lot of circumstances, that will be 1 measly gold coin per trading faction, and research rate plus 3 points. Did you know about the research rate part? I bet a lot of people didn't. In fact, it's one of the things I badly wish I had more of when playing Coast. They hide it behind massive expansion of coves. The other 2 options do not make you money. Pirate's Rest grants 20 infamy per turn, gives Lord Recruit rank plus 1 faction-wide, which is significant, given how fleet offices are rank-gated. Gives you capacity plus 1 for Gunnery Wights and capacity plus 1 for Mourngul Haunters. Both of these are nice in battle, but also give you indispensable things as agents, steal technology from the Wights, assassinate from the Haunters. This is also the only way you have of increasing their capacity. Incidentally, Vampire Fleet Captains increase from Tier 3 of Shipbuilding Admiral main buildings, Tier 5 ports. Harkon has a skill to add plus 1, one of the fleet offices adds plus 2. The final option is Corrupted Tavern. This produces 20 infamy per turn, grants Vampiric Corruption plus 5 in that province, and Corruption plus 3 in adjacent provinces. This can weaken foes if you lean enough into it, but it takes effort and doesn't make you money, so there's that. The infamy is awesome. It's nice to have the option. You just don't want to do this and forget about it. You want it to be for a purpose. Corruption doesn't hurt you and does hurt your enemies. Well, the few ones it won't hurt if it's your own turf. The Cursed Mist right helps a lot with that. So how do we use Pirate Coves? To use the old video format. The theoretical ideal is to scout out all the good economic centers for the agent-created coves and to focus your effort there, since sacking a city makes it harder to milk that city for money. You obviously can't do this unless you're getting huge spikes in income, which could come from sacking the largest cities, but you're not Norska. In point of fact, the best income you're going to get is highly likely to be the accumulated power of building income, a lot through ports, because these will keep feeding off themselves for a minimum of plus 1% of income for all ports per port, no matter how small. Tier 5 ones crank this up to plus 4%, and it does add up, and plus 47% on a Tier 5 port with 800 income base gets up there. The issue is not for coves to catch up with this. The issue is you can't crank out Tier 5 cities and defend them willy-nilly. You can keep hunting down encounters at sea and getting 5,000 here, 8,000 there, 20,000 for the big ones, though these require a serious army or a lot of micro of a tough fight. But the reward is really worth it. Point is, yes, those spikes help with shipbuilding, and that's awesome, but you also need to crank out the coves. Not even just for money, but your faction will suffocate if it doesn't have enough heroes, if it doesn't have enough research points, and if it doesn't have enough supplemental income to crank out more armies, because you are strictly limited in your shipbuilding lords. And if they're not fighting the biggest battles, leveling them is a pain. Losing non-immoral regulars is also a pain. So you need money to make money. Over time, that is. Focus on feeding the beast first, but once you start unlocking fleet captains, know the timer on each of them, be willing to burn through a lot of money to gain more on the flip side, and that's how you go after the big long-term money. It takes patience, it takes commitment, but you do get a lot of return. And I realized a really evil way to get around the cooldown. If you are really committed and have lots of money and have proximity but not enough vampire captains for it, just disband the captain permanently, losing the hero, and recruit another from a shipbuilding admiral. Cruel, but it works. It's for the impatient. Now, for coves you establish via bonking. This is where you probably want the hero capacity ones first, and sooner rather than later. You also might want to use these for research, especially if you establish them in stable factions that make very little money like Tomb Kings. As in, you kicked the butt of Rapace, and Arken took over her stuff. The Cove remains. At this point, you're placing token amounts of money plus research points versus Gunnery Whites, which can get you research via agent actions and more hunters, and not that hunters are bad, they help with post-battle loot after all. A trickle of that helps your faction too. Like I said, this is supplemental income. Your building income late game should far outstrip it unless you've placed a lot of coves in strategic locations, which might give their owners reason to hate you. But if you're rich enough and not involved in huge wars that use non-shipbuilding admirals, and thus cost you a lot of money, you can even use agent action coves for hero capacity or the 200 gold ones just for the research. You can. I wouldn't want to, but you can. Point is, none of this happens without visibility over factions with the attendant risks. Do what you have to do. Long run, you need more money to get bigger. Your legendary lord will probably be able to have a top tier force at budget prices, but you want more. What's your preferred strategy? Let us know. Take care, and have fun swiping other people's hard-earned doubloons from under their noses.